Okay, hey everyone. I am going to try going through this API document. This is the first time I'm going to try doing a screencast of the homeworks. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah, happy to get feedback and look through it. So this is most of what we went through in class. I think I'll do another video of the Twitter stuff just to get you going on that. But I want to kind of go through this. So the main idea is that we're trying to get information from APIs. And the main way we do that is through this requests library. So we're importing that. We're also importing uh, this these two functions from the ipython.display so that we can display images. So we'll import those, and then we're going to, this is the place kitten API, which returns an image. So we'll save that as the variable R. So we're going to send a GET request to that URL, save the result as R, which is a request object. Request objects have some information about them, so we can look at the status code, make sure that it worked. 200 means it's good and it worked. We can look at the content, which in this case is just an image. So this is the image in binary. So we don't want that. We want to actually display it. So this displays the image, and that's the image that was returned. So hopefully all of that should run without you changing anything at all. The next step is to, for the exercises, to first write a function that takes in width and height and prints an image. So if we look at the URL, this is the width and this is the height. So in fact, I'm going to kind of copy this line so that I can use it in my function. And we'll call it get kitten. That's going to take in width and height. And we'll do this, r.requests.get, and I'm going to replace these with the variables that we got. So width, format, width, and height. So this will put these two variables, which get passed into the function, the first one here and the second one there. So that should get it, and then it's going to print the image, so we'll just use this same, same code here. And then display the image. And that should be all we need to do. We'll test to make sure that it works. So we'll actually call the function here with 100 and 100 by 200 image. Let's see if that works. Looks great. So that worked. And then the second exercise is to write a loop to show several images. And so I think the easiest way is to just use the function that we have. And so we can say for W in, let's do a few image widths, let's say 200 pixels, 300 pixels, 500 pixels. And in fact, let's do another loop for height in 100 and 200. And then we'll just get kitten, and then W and H will be the two parameters we pass in. Let's try running that. So this is the first one. The first time going through the loop, it should be 200 by 100. That looks great. And then it's going to be the next time, it'll do the inner loop next, so it should be 200 by 200, so it should be a square. That looks good. And then we go back to the outer loop, 300 by 100, etc. So this looks great. We got lots of great kitten pictures. So that's the first API. The second one, excuse me, is getting times from the World Time API. Again, I started you off with some example code that just should make sure that it's working. So this will give us this r.content, gives us this big list of possible locations. So not super helpful, but what we can, the first exercise just shows us that we can also see this as JSON instead. So if you notice, this list does look like a list, but it's actually a string. So if you look at how it ends, it's got this, the ending bracket, the square bracket that a list has, but it ends and starts with a string. So it's really just a giant string. And so this .json function changes it from this JSON string into, in this case, a list. So that's what the JSON looks like, and it's actually a list now. And so the next step is to get the time in our time zone. And you can look, if you go to the World Time API, you can see how this is supposed to look. So request the current time for a time zone. That's what we want. So it's this, and then the area, and then the location, and then the region, if there is a region. And so this shows some examples of how you would do it. So we're gonna do that. And in fact, they gave you almost everything that you need. In fact, oh yeah, let's copy this. So time zone, and then America, Indiana, Indianapolis, and we could, anything that's up here, we could find that from this list what we should do. So we'd look for America, Indiana's there, and then we'll do Indianapolis. So that's great. So we can do that, and then let's also print it. So we'll do r.json again and see what we get. So that's great. So in this case, the JSON is a dictionary instead of a list that gives a bunch of information about the date and time right now. So that is that. And then finally, we're going to do the same thing for IP address. So I'm just going to copy this code that I knew was working and figure out how to do it for an IP address. And it has it right here. So it's just API/IP. We'll get my IP address and put it in there. So IP, and then there we go. It should look really almost identical. See, it's telling me what time zone it's getting it from, what time zone it thinks I'm in. So it's really very similar. Okay, that's the last one, and then that's the time zone one, and the last one is this getting Wikipedia pages API. This is much more complicated. I want to run this first one, so talk a little bit about what it's doing first. We're important requests again, which technically we don't need to do because we already did that. But it's setting the endpoint. So this is the start of all of the APIs. Have this API.php, and then setting up this function that will get the most recently changed pages. And so we talked a little bit in class about this, but the requests, one type of API will start with this endpoint and then have requests, or parameters, sorry, that you send in with the request. And the request library can handle these parameters. You put them in a dictionary, and then you pass them through as part of the params variable that gets sent to the request.get function. So that's that, and then it'll change it. In fact, we can look at the URL that it's sent. I'll print that so that you can see what URL it's sending. So it puts those parameters together into a nice URL, which is what the API is expecting. And then I went through this work already, but you need to figure out how to deal with what is being returned. So this will return in fact, we can print that too this first time when I run it. An r.json or a JSON dictionary, and then we need to figure out how to get the pieces that we want out of it. So this is a little complicated. In fact, maybe I'll rewrite this to make it a little simpler to show you what's going on. This is called list comprehension. And another way to show what it's doing, let's call it result. We'll do result, and then for x in r.json query recent changes result dot append r, oops, I'm calling it x now, shouldn't have overloaded r, x title. So this maybe is a little bit more clear. So there's a dictionary. I'll show you the r.json in just a second. There's a Oh, sorry, let me just finish the return result. Okay, that's a little bit clearer as to what's going on. I'm going to get rid of that. We're going to see a dictionary. In fact, let me just show you. This is the URL first that it created, that requests created and then sent. So you can see it starts with the endpoint, but then it puts in the action format list, RC name, etc. And it puts them in, nicely. It figures out how to do that in a good way. And so that is, so that's the first thing. And then this is what is returned. So it's this big, huge dictionary with internal dictionaries. It's kind of this big, complicated thing. And so one of the, kind of tricky things is figuring out how to get at the data that you want. So in this case, so this is the r.json. And then we go to query. So here's the first item in the dictionary. We don't want that. This is the second item in the dictionary. We don't want that. And then the third item is query. And that's what we want. So query is where all of the information is within this query, attached to the query key in the dictionary. And then it's in recent changes. So query has its own sub-dictionary, which has recent changes, which is a list of all the recent changes. So that's what we want. And then what I decided to get from that, so each recent changes, again, I know this is very complicated to try to parse, is a list of dictionaries. So it's a query has this dictionary, is a dictionary itself, which has recent changes, and then recent changes, the value for that key is another list of dictionaries, where each dictionary, so let's see if we can figure out where this one starts and ends. So it starts here, and it ends right there. So that's the first entry in recent changes is this dictionary. So it tells you all about the this edit that was made. And so it was an edit. This is the namespace. This is the title of the page that was edited. This is the ID of the page, the revision ID, etc. The timestamp of when it was made. So it was obviously just now. So that's kind of the information, and what we want to get out of it is title. So what we're saying is for each of these edits, each of these edits with its own dictionary, take the title and put it in our result list. So we're just making a list of all the titles of the most recent things, and that's what gets returned. And in fact, if we look, this is once we quit printing all this stuff, kind of the logging stuff. This is what was returned. So this is a list of the pages that were where the most recent edits happened, the 20 most recent edits. So there you go. That's how to do that. Once we're actually doing this, we'll just kind of comment those two out, and then you can see we should get just a list of the pages. What? Let's see what we got here. Max retries. Might be just a network error. I'm going to try it one more time. That's one of the dangers of working with APIs is sometimes there's just some network problem because you're getting data from another computer. So unlike a Python program that's on your own computer, sometimes there are issues that are kind of beyond your control. So that worked again when we tried it again. So when doing network stuff, sometimes it does make sense to just try it again. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to show you how to do this last exercise, getting a list of all the people who've edited the most recently edited Wikipedia page. So let's start this. So we know how to get, let's get the last page. So we'll do that. We already have the function for that. So page equals get last page is changed, and we'll just get 1. So that'll give us the title of the page. And then let's look at the Wikipedia API documentation. So I'll just Google for that. Yeah, that looks good. And so we want to get a list of the people who have edited something. So let's see, get properties of pages maybe. I actually don't remember how to do this, so this is real. Yeah, let's try that. Let's see. So learning how to read these API documentations is definitely an important skill and something that takes a while. So let's see, contributors looks pretty good. Let's see whether that gets us what we want. And this API documentation is actually quite good because it will give you examples. So if we look, for example, at the main page, we can see what this looks like. So it tells us the contributors, and it tells us the user ID and the name. But it looks like, is that what it? Oh, list of all the people who've ever edited it. Oh, that sounds perfect. That sounds perfect. I was thinking that I asked for it to be like arranged by time or something, but we don't need to do that. And so this actually looks like it'll get us just about what we want. So that sounds great. Yeah, let's try this and see if it works. So action is query, prop is contributors, and then we pass titles. Okay, so that sounds great. Let's write a function that does that. Get editors of page name, and then I'm just gonna kind of copy this. So we know we want it to be from Wikipedia still. So put that in. We'll get parameters. And let's see what we want those parameters to be. Let me look again. Query, prop is contributors. Okay. Actions query. Prop, which stands for property, is contributors. And titles. And that we want to be page name. Okay. That sounds great. And then let's try it without these. Okay. And then let's see what happens. So let's do r equals request.get endpoint params. And let's start by just printing r.json. See, just make sure that works. And then let's try it with the page that we already got, which I don't even know what it is. Oh, request is not defined. That's strange. We imported a request already. Let's just try importing it again, just to see what's going on. Oh, it's requests, isn't it? Oops, that explains it. Okay, trying again. What have we got? JSON decode error. Oh, I know exactly the problem. We didn't ask for it to be JSON. So we need to ask for the format, which was part of the other one. Format to be JSON. I don't know why the indenting's not working. Okay, let's try that. Perfect. Perfect. This is great. This looks like just what we want. So the next step is to figure out how to get what we want out of here. And so we can kind of look at this. I actually find it easier often to look at it where it's formatted nicely in Firefox or Chrome. So we can look, what we want is query, and then pages. Oh, great. And then it's got the page number. And then we want the contributors and then name. So it's going to be tricky to get to it. Okay, so query and then pages. Let's go for that. Okay, so pages equals r.json query and pages. And then we don't know what this number is going to be, right? Because we don't know what the page ID is. So we will just loop through all of them for page and pages. So this will loop through all of the keys, which are all page IDs. But we know that there's only going to be one page because we're only asking for one page in this case. We could write more complicated code that would be able to handle a bunch of pages, but in this case, we're just going to ask for one page. So the page info equals pages page. Does that make sense? So pages is a dictionary, and it's this dictionary right here, right? So it's that dictionary. And so what we're doing is looping through all the keys. And in this case, we know there's only going to be one key. We don't know what it is, but we actually don't even care. So for this key, we're saying get the content of that dictionary, which will be this. So page info is what that new dictionary is. And then what we want is contributors from there. And in fact, we're going to have to do another for loop because this is a list as well. So for contributor in page info contributors, we're going to get all of the names. So we'll make a result list, list, and then result.append contributor name. Okay, let's see if that works, and then we're going to return the result. Let's see how that works. So we'll notice I ran this so that it updated in memory what getEditors refers to, and then we'll try getEditors page, and there we go. There's a list of all the people who have edited the most recently edited Wikipedia page. So that's that. I'm going to stop this video, try and upload it, see how it works, and then maybe try to do one for Twitter as well.